Good afternoon, fellow coworkers. My name is Kopecki, and according to the boss, I have to give a presentation about business ethics today, why it's important, what's going to happen in the future, how it affects everyone, from producers to consumers, the corporate world, everything, small businesses. So that's what I'm here to talk about today and to kind of inform you about the topic. And of course, my name is Kopecki, as most of you already probably know. So what is business ethics? Well, obviously, ethics has a lot of different definitions depending on your viewpoint, religion, legally, any kind of stance that you take on it. It has different definitions. But for the sake of this presentation, I took the definition straight from Investopedia, which is business ethics is the study of appropriate business policies and practices regarding potentially controversial subjects, including corporate governance, insider trading, bribery, discrimination, corporate social responsibility, and fiduciary responsibilities. But, that's all good and well, bunch of words, but what does it exactly mean? Well, it means to act ethically, and that brings me back to the other point that ethics is a highly debated topic because it depends on whether you think something's ethical or whether the other person thinks that's unethical. So it comes down to a lot of bickering, debate, and ultimately we're not entirely sure where it stands. So who does it entail? As I mentioned previously, it entails corporations, small businesses, big businesses, even the consumer versus the producer, employees to employers. It entails everything. And I know when most people think about ethical or ethics, they'll think of a safe work environment, mandatory break hours, mandatory sick days, all that kind of stuff, but it even delves deeper into that because, like I said, ethics is debated amongst everybody, and whether we see something as ethical or unethical, sometimes we have to give leeway in our own perceptions of what makes the world go around. So some current examples to kind of just hammer home the point of ethics. I have good examples of ethics, and I have bad examples of ethics. Unfortunately, the bad examples get reported more often than the good examples because that's the way the world works and the media works. So business ethics is always in play during day-to-day life at a company. Whether you're interacting with the consumer, whether you're interacting with your boss, anything that goes on is considered business ethics, how you treat people ethically. Now, with business ethics becoming a hot-button topic, in the past couple of years, there are plenty of examples of the correct use of business ethics and the wrong use. What I mean is becoming a hot button topic in the past couple of years, we've seen a lot more demonstrations, protests about inequality among social classes, ethnicity, race, all that kind of stuff. It just seems to be boiling up to a point in the past current years that we won't stand for inequality, and we shouldn't. An article that I found, Chipotle fires St. Paul restaurant manager, retrained staff after viral video. Now this was posted November 17th, 2018, and in this instance, this restaurant manager denied 5 black teens service at Chipotle because the restaurant manager wanted to make sure that these black teens could pay for their meal before they started to make the meal. It doesn't seem like that's a huge deal per se, but with all the other customers that came in that day, there was never an instance where the manager made them show that they could pay for the meal before they actually started making the meal. Now, so this could be tied back to racial profiling, racially insensitive, and not treating all consumers fairly. And this was a huge scandal, big deal for Chipotle. So they responded in a positive aspect where they fired the manager and then retrained the staff and to be more racially sensitive and to treat everyone fairly, because that's what we're really fighting for. So another current example, this problem that I'm about to explain has been around since the 1800s and has been debated back and forth, but nothing has really ever changed or come of it. So the article in question is the real reason most prices end in 99 cents. And this dives into a sort of sinister tactic producers utilize to profit off customers. Now the article goes on to talk about how $19.99 looks a whole lot cheaper than $20. And the reason being is because humans read from left to right. So if the first number we see is a 1 instead of a 2, our minds ultimately think, oh, that's cheaper, that's a deal, I should spend my money on this because, it's cheaper. It looks that way to us. And this little difference, it actually was only implemented in 1800s when they were selling the newspaper for 1 cent instead of 2. It actually increased the sales by an enormous amount because it was an odd number, and it was a cent lower, but it encouraged more people to buy because they saw it as some sort of deal. And that, so the debate is whether using this tactic is ethical from a business perspective, because yes, it's increasing sales, but it's also at the expense of using mind tricks or mind games on the consumers to see, if they'll fall for it, if they'll spend more money. And it has been proven that sales do go up when it's ending in a 99 instead of rounding up to the whole number. So I'll leave you with the question is, do you think it's unethical to utilize this tactic to influence people to buy these products because their brain thinks it's cheaper? In my opinion, I do think it's a little unethical. And I think, it should change. It should round up to the nearest dollar instead of being at 99, so that no one, it's a fair playing field between consumers and producers. Now, enough about the bad examples that are happening in the world, and I will move on to a better example and something that companies should strive to achieve. So, good business ethics could show its face in many forms. There's a bunch of different qualities that companies can display that could be considered good business ethics, like honesty, giving back to the community, putting consumers first, having a good relationship between the consumers and the producers, a good working environment, safe working environment. All those kinds of things can be considered good business ethics. So now a good example of this is the company Farmer Direct Co-op. So since co-op is in the name, they are entirely worker-owned company, meaning the workers have more than 51% of the stocks in the company, and their voices have a say. So the company focuses mainly on sustainable farming and being environmentally friendly, which with the whole climate change and a bunch of different politics going on in the world, it's nice and refreshing that that we know that someone is focusing on being environmentally friendly and being sustainable. And all the produce is certified organic. This shows that they care about their consumers, they want them to be healthy, want to provide the best kind of food that they can without all the GMOs and injections that are more common in bigger farming industries, agricultural industries. So, and also most of the agricultural industry is known for being a very unethical business, from the way they treat their cattle, their wildlife, and the way that they grow their crops, inject them with different sort of chemicals, and usually the unfair wages that they pay to the workers for the hard labor that they must undertake to grab all these plants, all the cattle, but not these guys. These guys seem to be doing very well. I think it is more directly because it is a co-op and the workers own most of the company, so they have a say in how workers are treated and what it is they do. So the importance of business ethics now and in the future, it's a very important topic. So right now, business ethics is a big thing that corporations and employers are going to have to get on board with, considering the current political climate of the world. As I stated at the beginning of this lecture, that we won't stand for inequality anymore. It doesn't matter. Everyone is equal under the eyes of corporations, law, anything. We want to be treated as equals because that's a human right, and that's what we should all strive for. As for the future, I believe it'll be even more important, as the growing importance right now It seems to be taking over, taking the world by storm, and it'll be even more important in the future because messing up and not implementing ethical practices will be punished even more severely than it already is. Because as of right now, if some corporation or some employer acts unethically, it's spread all over social media, people start boycotting, and it kind of leads to a firestorm for that employer or that corporation. So I think that will be more widespread and more acceptable in the near future. So businesses will be forced to adapt and act ethically, with whose ever definition of ethical reigns supreme. As I stated before, the idea of ethics is kind of subjective to everyone. So whichever law or ethical issues are presented to everyone, that's what everyone's going to have to focus on, and that will help them reign supreme. So that's the end of the presentation. If anyone has any questions or anything, you can speak to me after, and I'd be happy to expand upon things. Thank you.